Hello everybody and welcome back to another Ramble. Yeah, it's been actually I got this idea quite a bit recently since I've been playing quite a bit more. I've been taking a look around the web or just taking a look at my library and just seeing what kind of card games I've been recently playing, since I've been looking through a lot of them to see what are the pros and cons of each, and hence the title, considering cons and Pondering Pros. Because I am making that of my own card game, I kind of want to take a look at the good sides and the bad sides. So I'm gonna take a look at some of the, well, more relevant card games, and I really want to give my own opinion about them, like really briefly, and to talk about their good sides and their bad sides, because I do have a bit of considerable card game experience after all. Like, I have been playing card games for, I don't know, like 10 years now, a bit more actually. 15 years actually, if we consider like Magic the Gathering and all that sort. And I've been playing a lot of games, so I do have a list of all the, you can see in the description, the list of all the card games I'm gonna talk about now, like the CCGs. So yeah, you can see if there's anything that interests you. But I'm gonna quickly give here also a mention to another LCG, because that's not really, it's not really a CCG, like, so Android Netrunner, because I really do like that game. I really like it, but it does have so many problems with it. Mostly in the way that it has, well, I really do admire the design and the whole, well, it's very asymmetrical, and I really do like how different the two sides are, yet how surprisingly similar they are in their actions. And that game certainly has a lot of good design elements to it, from all the ability to have a card draw and all that, and it has a lot of good design elements to it. But I won't be talking about it too long here, so I want to actually also bring up the main point here. I really value consistency and just in general differentiating cards and having a lot of granularity in cards, and I'll go into deeper with all the examples, so it should become very clear. Now, I will be talking very negatively about certain two games, so keep in mind, even though I have problems with the games, if you enjoy them, hey, sure, like, don't let me stop you. I just want to level some criticism at them. And it's not like any game's perfect, so, you know, and they're card games after all, they are meant to have fun. But I do have a lot of criticism towards these two games. So first of all, let's talk about the newcomer at the block. Although not really that new at this point, but Hearthstone, because oh my freaking god, I actually really lost interest in this game. I actually uninstalled it like, almost 6 months ago now, because it was just boring. It really, okay, so my main problem with the game is that it's not boring. It definitely has the Blizzard quality to it, because it does have a lot of good design elements. It is fun. It is really fun and flashy, and it has a lot of, like, all of the classes are very strictly defined and all that, but Jesus Christ, it's so inconsistent, and it is just so filled with just such bullshit RNG, and I really despise how much RNG it has. That is really my biggest problem with it. It is admittedly its draw that it is just so random, and you can just, well, basically win if you just have certain cards in your hand and you wish for the best. Now that is its advantage, but I really more admire consistency. I value consistency far more than the whole fun factor like that, because it just, I don't know, it's personal values. That's not to say that Hearthstone is bad. It does have a lot of good design elements to it, like the fact that all of the classes are very different from one another. That is really good. That is really key. And then that you can always rely on how much mana you can easily calculate how much mana you have for the next turn, you know, the gradual increase of mana. That is another really good design element to it. I really do like that. And it does provide a lot of different types of decks. And I really do like that the design team has been trying to push it away from, you know, one turn kill decks that just can deal over 60 damage in one turn out of no board. It, you know, Patron Warrior times. Those lovely, lovely times. So the design team is trying to keep its best, but due to the nature of the game, it is just too RNG based for me to really, really think of it highly. It is fun, but it is, in my opinion, the worst game in this list that I'm gonna talk about. That's not to say that it's not enjoyable. I really have enjoyed it, and I really still do watch quite a lot of different YouTubers about it, because, hey, it's more fun to watch highlights than play the game myself. That says quite a bit. But yeah, let's move on to Magic the Gathering, because this is the oldie but the goodie. Or is it really all that good? In my opinion, Magic the Gathering has aged really poorly. Like, it is really bad. It is, in my opinion, really, really, really bad at this time and age. It was really good. I have played it like countless times when I was a child, but nowadays I really don't like it all that much for several reasons, but the key one being the whole mana system just is not good. The mana system is just bad, in my opinion. The fact that you can get mana flooded or mana dried, and that just ruins your whole game. That's just too much variance for me. I just really don't like that kind of aspect to it, that you can lose just out of really bad draw and literally be unable to do anything. That is just, in my opinion, such a huge flaw in the game that it just ruins it for me. But Magic the Gathering does have a lot of good advantages to it. For one, it is very clear what cards do, and they do have some really good aspects to it. It does have a really kind of a problem that comes with aged, and that is that there are too many keywords, but that's not too bad, and they all usually are explained quite well, and all of the keywords are rather easy to understand with just one sentence explanations, so it's not too bad, to be honest. But yeah, that's just the whole mana system, just in my opinion, is just too outdated and too old. But the game is old, so you can't really go changing it, so it's understandable, in my opinion. But the fact that you really... the mana system, in my opinion, is bad. Now, I want to bring actually up a topic that Trump, actually, Trump, the Hearthstone YouTuber, or streamer rather, or both, brought up about Magic. And that is that the mana system, or the mana system that Magic has, brings up an interesting possibility, and that is splicing two colors together. And yeah, that is certainly what a lot of the decks, that is what the game pushed towards. And while there are still some monocolored decks, those are far more rare than spliced color decks. And there has been some, I have actually played a 5-colored deck, and that was poor. That was a really bad deck, but it was fun. So that is an interesting advantage that the mana system does bring, but it really does sacrifice the consistency with it. But at the very least, if you want to splice in different colors, you are willing to you are consciously making the sacrifice of consistency for flexibility and more wide variety of cards. And that is an interesting advantage to that game. And I do like that it provides that. But still, the land system is just bad. I really don't like that the lands they exist in the way that they are, but you can change it, and, Magic is still fun, I'm not denying that. It definitely does have its fun moments. And, yeah, admittedly, it does have the advantage that the colors are, very clearly designed. You can easily tell what a deck is usually going to contain once you see one of its primary colors. That is pretty good, in my opinion, that is strictly defined like that. Yeah. Though, in my opinion, Magic has aged too poorly, but that's probably because CCGs have been developing quite rapidly in the past few years, so I don't know. It just hasn't aged all that well. Of course, it also has the problem of being rather pay to win. You can't really go to a tournament if you don't really spend more money than everybody else on the game. And that is kind of a problem. Kinda. Although I have been proven wrong on that case, since or not my local, but the the game store owner who or the game store that I visited regularly, the owner of that game store actually really did stomp quite a few tournaments with very, very cheap decks, so the pay to win isn't really in the end such a huge deal, but you know, you can clearly see the difference in the card quality, the rarity. Though that is also something that a lot of card games, or almost all of the card games do, so we can't really talk about that poorly. Then I really want to bring up Pokemon, because I have spent quite a lot of time with Pokemon. Like, I really have enjoyed quite a lot of time with Pokemon, but Jesus Christ, it's so... I really do admire its design a lot. I really do like how it is designed, but just... oh my goodness, it has such huge flaws. Not only can you get screwed by not drawing energy, you can also get screwed by not drawing starter Pokemons, drawing only evolved Pokemons, and it's just like, it can really fall so rapidly, it's just so horrible. But I really admire the design. It's... yeah. Pokemon is really more fun and more silly than anything, and it's more due to the theme. And yeah, sure, you can I can't speak. You can get competitive with it if you really want to, but it just has so much variance that it's just kind of ridiculous. Although I really do like some aspects to it that are a bit more interesting, such as the energy retrieval. That's a pretty nifty aspect, to be honest. But that's about the best I can say about it. Even the different like elements are not that well differentiated from one another, disregarding weaknesses and vulnerabilities and all that, resistances and all that. But other than that, the different types really don't come into play all that much. That's kind of bad in my opinion. But I still have enjoyed Pokemon. Like, it's my... I think it was one of those... It was the second most played game in my childhood, at the very least. Though that is more because of the list, and that most of these games were not available in my childhood, so that isn't saying much. Okay, let's then talk about Duelyst, because I freaking admire this game in so many ways. This game is actually really fantastic in my opinion, and here we get into a lot more interesting card game design. And with Duelyst, I really do like two aspects of it, like more than anything else, and those are the fact that you can mulligan one card per turn. That is such a huge deal. Like, if you've played Duelyst and compared it to any other CCG that I've mentioned so far, you know how much consistency and how much strategy that gives you, that the fact that you can change one card from your hand per turn, and how that can also interact with some of the cards. It's a really, although admittedly it's not a new idea, it is certainly a really good idea, and I really do like that. It's one of my favorite aspects of Duelyst, and it just gives it so much more consistency and it's just so good in my opinion, like really darn good. Of course, it has the battlefield as well. The whole tactical aspect to it, the fact that you have to move your units and all that, and that is really cool, and the fact that your facing even matters, those are all rather nifty aspects. The fact that you can trap your opponent's general, the fact that you can move your valuable minion next to the general so he has to attack it and he cannot move, that's like, the fact that he has to choose between moving and killing your valuable minion is a really cool aspect that it has. But I do have a pretty big problem with it, and that is that, like, I don't know what it is, but I really don't like our graphical design. This is more of a personal nitpick, so don't take this too deeply, but I really don't like the graphic design of Duelyst, because it just, everything looks and feels too samey. Like, I know that, I consciously know that there are differences in the factions, and they are clearly different, and you can easily see that, and they really do have different keywords and all that to them, and credit where credit is due. They gave every faction their own keyword. That is really good. That is admirable. That is really good way to differentiate different factions from one another. But they still all feel quite a bit the same. But that's just me. Like, I don't know, it's just they don't feel separate enough, you know? That might not be the most fair criticism to give, and that's very, very personal opinion, so yeah. I mean, if you have your own criticism towards Duelyst, I would really love to hear them. Like, maybe a little sideway note here. Like, I bring up a lot of points here, and I really want to hear your guys' downsides and upsides to these games. Like, maybe I didn't mention something. Disagree with me. Like, feel free to disagree. Like, of course, these are just my opinions. So, you know, I want to hear your opinions as well. I know I'm bashing quite a bit of these games, but in the end, they are all still fun. But yeah, Duelyst is, in my opinion, one of the best ones here, but I really don't have that much else to say about it. It's just another game where you just would have to play it a lot more, and it just feels rather samey all the way through. Like, all the factions have felt far too samey to me, and that's just rather strange. I don't know even why. But moving on from Duelyst, well, I really enjoyed it, and it is one of the key inspirations that I got for my own CCG. That I really, one of these games that I have always been glamoring about is Duel Monsters, or Yu-Gi-Oh, as some of you might know it, because it's a really, really wonderful game. Like, it is really quite good, and it has some of the most interesting designs to it, and it's some of the best, and its main advantage, unfortunately, is also its main disadvantage, and that is the fact that you can, well, it has very simple rules, and that is really good. It has very, very, very simple rules that you can explain in maybe a few sentences. However, that also means that when they're basically all of the cards have different, like, every card has an exception to the rules, almost. Well, okay, not even close, but, you know, just a bit of hyperbole there. Most of the cards that have dramatic effects alter the game rules quite a bit, and in some situations they are really stacked full with text, and that is kind of a problem. Also, one of the huge problems with that game is, of course, that it just has no granularity. The fact that it doesn't have any mana system means that every card has to be compared at the same power level, or basically there are 2 power levels for all the monsters, and those are 1 to 4 level monsters and 5 and up level star monsters, and that's just the fact that it's so binary and that you have to compare all of them together like that. It's just, I don't know, I just really don't like that there doesn't feel all that much more variance, and they really have to fill the cards with text to make them feel different, and that's just unfortunate, because I really like the game design as a whole. Although that also, Yu-Gi-Oh does have a lot of problems with its, well, shall we say, less than pleasurable decks. Some of those rather bullshit lockdown decks that really don't let you play, and that's not really all that fun, and it's a game that's made to be exploited and push your opponents to their edges and make them go insane. But that's just a personal experience, and that's probably because my friend is an asshole and who plays only decks that don't let you play. Personal experiences. But I still really do like the design of that game. Then moving on, we'll talk about perhaps my favorite CCG, surprisingly enough, and that is MLP CCG. I'm not gonna go too deeply in with the theme and all that, because I'm just gonna talk about the main thing why I think it is so darn good. And that is the fact that, first of all, you can always count how many tokens you're going to get at the beginning of your turn. Second, you know how many tokens your enemy is going to get in the beginning of his or her turn, and you can easily manipulate that with the scores. Although, well, okay, not easily, but you can possibly manipulate that. You can calculate how much he's going to get, and you can prepare for that. Second, you can draw at will, and that is a key part to giving consistency. The fact that you can use tokens to draw cards, though I rarely do that because I really don't want to waste tokens on that. The fact that you can do that gives the game such a huge, such a considerable edge in consistency. It's really quite unbelievable. I really wonder why so few games have done that you can easily draw cards, because it just makes everything so much more consistent and just it promotes so much more just good strategy and more flexible deck building, and just allows for far more imaginative decks and far more creative decks. Although, to be fair, it also falls in the same trap that MTG kind of fell into, and that is that it has a lot of keywords. And I mean a whole bunch. With the new block that came just earlier this year, they brought in quite a few new keywords, and that's a bit regrettable. Still, it's possibly one of my favorite games so far. Not only due to it having such a, shall we say, unconventional scoring system, but also the fact that that game also had a lot of problems due to it having, I don't know, poor balance testing or something. The fact that it had a lot of decks that just have one turn win conditions, and that's just rather unfortunate, shall we say. Because, the fact that you can easily just win in one turn with some combo decks, that's kinda dumb. But I really do like that you can have easily some lockdown decks, though those can easily be also countered with few cards. And I built an, was it like 80 card deck that had just far too many cards and stacked it full of draw, and I drew like 5 or 6 cards per turn with no problems for free, and easily had counters for whatever my enemy could throw at me. And that was just such a wonderful that the game enabled me to have that kind of, like, the whole system enabled me to have that kind of mechanic. Such a huge deck and still be able to play reasonably consistent. That's nigh impossible for a card game to have, I think. And it's quite wonderful that they were able to do it. Although that also has to do with a lot of that cards having, well, maybe perhaps I exploited a few cards that perhaps had some problematic wording to them, but that's completely besides the point. But yeah, MLP CCG is most likely my favorite card game. Or CCG, rather. But recently, this little newcomer has been coming around the block, and I really have to give credit to it, because, jeez, I've been playing it so much, and it just is definitely, out of all of the online games, it is the one that I've had the most fun with, and this is Chronicle, Runescape Legends, because, oh my goodness, where do I even begin with this game? Well, let's begin with the downside, and that is that it does rely a lot on you having pay to win. Like, you can't really make you can make good decks without having fought too many rare cards, but it does rely a lot on rarer cards and all that to have the best decks. Though they have been doing quite a lot to avoid that. And of course, it may be a bit confusing to, like, it has a stark contrast between beginners decks and decks that know what they are doing, and that is a bit regrettable, because that means that newbies are gonna get curb stomped no matter where they are against net deckers, because the net decks are just so much powerful. There is such a stark contrast between a strictly confined deck that knows its exact purpose and deck just have, like, the fact that it really requires you to get good at deck building quickly it's a good thing in a way, but Jesus Christ, it punishes you if you don't. Well, basically you have to look up what the hell you are doing, and that is a bit bad in my opinion. Still, that game is a lot of fun, like, it is definitely fun. So let me get on to the actual good things about the game. So first of all, let's get on with the different classes, because they are just absolutely wonderfully different. Each one of them are, like, they are so so wildly different from one another, and that is really wonderful that they have made, is it like 6 different legends now, and all of those are wildly different from one another, each with their, well, I don't think they, very few of them actually have their own keywords. Actually, I don't think any of them have their own keywords. Yeah, no, there's no unique keywords, but they do have very, very unique themes to them, and that is they are very, very starkly different from one another, and that is really quite good that they have managed to make all of them different, and yet all of them rely, every one of them, well, they don't rely, but they can rely on very, very heavy card synergy. Like, for an example, you get armor and then you spend armor to kill an enemy, and you can consistently have that be functional even in arena, or the dungeoneering mode as it is called in that drafting mode, you know. And the fact that that works so well is because of the whole drawing mechanism, which is just absolutely wonderful. The fact that you draw 3 cards per turn, like, I have really talked quite a bit about consistency, and having a lot of, well, consistency in a deck is, in my opinion, one of the best things to a card game, and the fact that you draw 3 cards is so good. Not to mention the fact that often inaction is a good decision. It's just, those are just so wonderful to have. So those two things just combine together to make a very, very consistent and fun game to me. That's just so wonderful. Now, admittedly, it also helps that I really have, well, I have played Runescape quite a bit, and I really maybe have enjoyed the stories and lore and all that, maybe a bit too much, so that is also a little of personal preference, and the fact that it really rewards you for daily logins, for quests rewards, and every little incentive to play it, and those are really really well implemented. It just makes it so much more fun. The fact that it has actually wonderful community managers, the fact that it learned from Hearthstone, like the fact that it came last in this list, the fact that it is the latest game out of this list, gives it such a huge edge, and it clearly has learned from the mistakes of its predecessors. It's not really that fair to compare to others, but in my opinion, Chronicle RuneScape Legends is perhaps the best online CCG app in the market at this moment. But this is definitely my own personal preference. You are free to disagree if you wish. I just really love that you can have a game that is very, very heavily based around card synergy, and you can still make it consistent even in drafting. Like, both RuneScape Legends and MLP CCG have proven 2 things that I wasn't actually expecting card games to accomplish easily, and they have shown ways to do it with no problems whatsoever. And the now talking about a bit about that my own CCG that I'm planning, Duelyst, MLP CCG, and Chronicle RuneScape Legends, all 3 of these have been like the main driving forces and the main design factors in that game to make it a bit more, well, I don't know, I want to make it good. Because I really want to take all of these good things about these games and make them into something wonderful. That's kind of the point of this video. I want you to, like, I pointed out quite a lot of my own feelings about these games, and a lot of downsides to them. So I want you all, like, if I missed something, certainly do let me know. So yeah, tell me if I missed something, tell me if you have any different opinions. Like, I didn't mention a lot of card games here, because I have been playing quite a few recently. But I kind of decided to just keep it to these, because these are the easiest ones and the games that I have the most experience with. I wanted to bring these up. But if you have any other card games that you feel are excellent, certainly do recommend them, and I'll go check them out. Yeah, this was rather long. I'll try to keep this under 30 minutes, so yeah, thank you all very much for watching and listening. Yanmu out.